Hello, in today's video, we'll look at pivot tables. So pivot tables, this is a feature in Microsoft Excel which helps you to organize and analyze data. It lets you add, remove values, perform calculations, and to filter and to sort data sets. So pivot tables help you structure and organize data to understand large data sets. So what are some of the advantages of using pivot tables? Advantages of using pivot tables include they are very easy to use. Second, it's concise and attractive. Yes. Third, you can gain insights from data without complex formulas. Because to achieve what we can achieve with a pivot table, if you go the formula way, that would involve complex formulas. So the pivot tables, it's a game changer for you. So how do you create a pivot table? So before we move on to creating a pivot tables, there are a few things that you should know. The first one is that you should ask yourself, the data that you want to create pivot tables from, is it in tabular format? By tabular format, I mean, is it in a table format? Okay, so the first thing is that your data should be in tabular format. Okay, are there also any values that you want to summarize? That is also another question. Okay, then is there any repeating information that can be used as categories for grouping? That's also another thing you should understand. Then make sure that your data is clean. By clean, I mean it should have no extra rows or columns. It should also have no blank cells. So remember to fill in the blank cells even with zeros. Okay, it should have no subtotal or total rows, and it should use the header row. So when you look at my data set here, I have the headers here. So it should use the header row. And you should also try to maybe shorten the title of the headers so that they are meaningful. And also there is no need to filter or sort your data. So the pivot table will do that for you. So quickly, let's see how we can insert a pivot table. So I have a data set with me. So all you have to do is that before you proceed, you need to convert this range into a table. How do you do that? Hold Control A to select everything on your keyboard, and then hit Control T to transform it or to change this into a table. Then leave this checked. My table has headers because yeah, it has. So click OK now. All right, so I've changed my data into a table. Then next, what follows is you need to click anywhere in the data set. So click anywhere in the data set, go to Insert, okay, and then go to under the tables, you see pivot tables. Okay, so click on that, the pivot table, click on it. Okay, the dialog box will appear. Okay, so the first one is the table range, and then in the text box we have table 1, that is the name of this table. And then the second one is choose where you want the pivot table to be placed. So you have new worksheet and existing worksheet. So new worksheet, it means it will be, the pivot table will be created in a new worksheet. Then existing, that means you can define where you want your pivot table created in the same sheet. So I advise that you leave everything the way it is. It's so good, it works perfectly fine, because creating this in an existing worksheet might confuse you. So let's hit on OK. All right, and there now we have our interface, the pivot table interface. So you can see here on my left hand side here, this is where the pivot table will be created. And then on my far right hand side, I can see the pivot table fields. Okay, so just remember that on the pivot table fields, you can also customize this by hitting the drop down menu, okay, here, and customize this. If you want it to appear like that, you can just play with that and that. But for now, let me just put it the way it was. Okay, so let's put it here. So again, you have these options again. So the filters, the rows, the columns, the values. So remember the filters will give you an option to filter or to concentrate, okay, to concentrate, to filter certain data that you want to focus on. So I'll show you how it works. Then the rows, it means it represents data in rows, and the columns, data in columns. So what you should understand is, they shouldn't scare you. In the values, put anything that has numbers that can be summarized, but you can also put categories, and so I'll show you how you can do this. So there's nothing scary. All you have to do is that practice and see the magic happen. So in this data set that I have, the healthcare insurance data set, I want to know the insurance, the average insurance, okay, per gender. Okay. So I want to know the average insurance per gender, that is male and female. So let me see, how do I do that? So I can simply go on gender. So gender. So for you to move an option in one of the boxes, you can either tick or simply left click, hold, and then drag into the rows if you want the rows. Okay, we've done that. And then the next one is the insurance price. That's what I need. So I can also just tick that, then it will automatically go in the value section. And now you can see now here that I have something now under the insurance. I have the female, male, and then I have the grand total. But let's look at this. Okay, so when you look at the female, when you look here on top, it says sum of insurance, okay, price USD. So this is not the average, instead it's the sum, okay, everything for the male side has been added. So what we want is the average. So just select one of the cells, right click on your keyboard, then go on summarize values by, then select average. Okay, so now this is what we have is the average. Okay, so when you look at this also, it's priced in USD, and so you would want to add that dollar sign. Okay, so right click, go on number format, and go on currency. Okay, and type in or check. Okay, so search for the USD. For the United States dollar, that is English United States dollar. I don't know if it's the one. Then here you have decimal places, which is 2. Leave it the way it is. Then click OK. All right, you have that US dollar symbol. Okay, so now you can see now from here that I have 14 on top and 22 down. So I want to sort this maybe in ascending or descending order. Right click and then go on sort. Okay, largest to smallest. Okay, then that has been sorted. So the way it works is that in Microsoft Excel, for you to sort, I mean in pivot tables, you can simply click one of the cells in your data set and then it will sort everything. Okay, all right, that's great. So if you don't want this grand total appearing also in your data set, you can also do that. You can also remove it. Okay, so click, select it, the grand total, then go in the design tab. Then on your far right hand side, you see grand totals. Okay, click the drop down menu and select the first option, which says off for rows and columns. Then it will disappear. It's no longer there. And so you can also customize the column labels. So instead of saying row labels, you can put that as gender so that it adds meaning. So put that as gender. Okay, then we have gender there. All right. So quickly, suppose we want to visualize this into something, into a chart or something, you can do that also. So let me go on my home tab. Then let me go on insert, and then let me go on pivot chart. Okay, then I can see that I have that. And these are different kind of charts I can select from. If I want a pie chart, I can select the pie chart. Then it also gives me the option if I want the 3D pie chart, okay, which looks like that and that. If I want the dot note, a pie chart, but for now I can use a simple pie chart or the 3D. Let me just use a simple pie chart, and I click OK, and my data has been visualized in form of a pie chart. But I don't want these fields appearing on my chart. So what should I do? So move your cursor to near this the field and just right click, then go on hide all field buttons. So when you select this option, it's gonna hide everything, all the field buttons on this chart. Okay, so let's do that, and all the field buttons are gone. Okay, so you can name this where there's the total. This is the chart title, so you can give this the title of your choice. Okay, let me go again here on the plus sign. I can also add the data labels. You can now see that you also have a key here which says male is painted in blue, and the female, I don't know if that's orange, and there's a figure inside. So that means you have created your first pivot table and the pivot chart. Okay, so it's not something which is very, very hard, but it's something which is very simple for you to do. So let's create again another pivot table and a pivot chart. So this time around, let's understand the insurance price according to location. Okay, so we have New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, Philadelphia, San Antonio, okay, and San Diego. Okay, so we can also create a pivot table for the insurance according to location. So for you to do that, select, also click anywhere in your data set, go on insert, okay, pivot table as usual, leave everything, click OK. Then you'll be greeted with this table. All you have to do this time around, you want the insurance, will go in the values, and now you want it by location. Okay, then it appears like this. So it appears like this. Now there's one thing, that's why I say this is freestyle, because for location, where to put the location, either in the rows or columns, it's up to you. So let me move this location into columns and see how it appears. Okay, you see that it appears like that. So you need to apply your own judgment, yes. So nobody's gonna tell you sometimes this looks better. That's up to you, that's your preference. So me, when I look at this, it's not adding that much of sense. So I will just take this back into the rows, and it's like that, okay? But one thing you should understand is that this is still sum of price USD. So what I need is the average. I click here, then go on summarize by. If I want count, I select count, okay? Then it will display that. So that means Atlanta, it's 1-1 everywhere, right? So if I click again, right click, and again go summarize sales by average, okay, or the maximum, that means only the maximum insurance price in each of the cities, or I don't know if they are cities, will be displayed, and then right click. Let's just take this back to average, okay? So average, now when you look at it, we're looking at average, and what we're looking at is the price. So let's just add the dollar sign or any currency that we're comfortable with by using the number format, okay, and then select currency since it's currency, okay. All right, so since I'm in Zambia, let me use a kwacha this time around. So I'll use kwacha, leave the decimal places to 2, then click OK. All right, so that is in kwacha, but again, there's something wrong with this. That is, I'm not okay with it. If you look at this, it's not properly sorted. So click to sort, then go on sort, largest to smallest or smallest to largest, depending on what you need. So I'll select sort largest to smallest this time around. And okay, there we are. This has been sorted now. It's in descending order. All right, then here we have average. Here I can also just type in location so that it carries meaning. So let me type location. All right, so you have location there, and we can also put, I don't know how big it is. Let's try to insert a pivot chart. Okay, pivot chart. Now a pivot chart will look like that. Okay, it's clustered. Okay, all right, so that means sometimes that is too much for our pivot chart. Okay, yes, okay, so this is our pivot chart. Anyway, it will be like this, but it looks compact and clustered. So remember to hide these field buttons. Move your cursor towards this, then right click, then hide all field buttons, and they are gone. Remove this also total. Okay, then you can customize this, give it a title. You can also add in the axis labels. So one thing that I want also to stress, this is just an introduction to pivot charts. Let's try out the filter. How does the filter work? Okay, so let's go in here and let's just put the filter. Let's put in gender, and let's put gender in the filter. Okay, in the filter region. Okay, so you can now see if I put gender in the filter region, it will allow me to filter for male. So if I select male, I hit OK. All right, sorry for that. Right. So let me just clear that. So select female. All right. So if I select female, you see that now what will be displayed now is the average of insurance price per location, but this time by gender, and the gender is only females. So if I go back again, I select male, okay, and hit okay, then that means this is average of insurance price by gender, this gender being the male this time around. So that is how you can simply create the pivot chart, the pivot table. So pivot tables, remember, and pivot charts, they are a very powerful tool in Microsoft Excel. Okay, so let me demonstrate again another thing before I go. All right. So let's look at smoking status. So to click on smoking status, it goes under the rows. Okay, so we have a non-smoker and the smoker that side. So what I want to understand is that I need to know the count, like how many males and females are smokers in non-smokers. So for me to do that, I just have to play around with this here, what is here. So what happens is that if I want to know how many males and females smoke or are smokers and non-smokers in simple terms, it means I need to count the gender. So for me to count, meaning the gender has to go under the values box. So when I just click it here, it will take me to the rows, because by default, that's why it's supposed to go. But this time around, I want the gender to come to the values section. So let's see what happens. Let's go on top, click down here. All right. So if I do that, if I bring in the gender here, you see that I'll have non-smoker and I'll have a smoker here. So non-smoker, okay, but there's no gender, right? So let's again put this gender somewhere here. Okay, so this one makes sense. So for this one to work, you need to put the gender. It goes into count of gender in the values, and again you have to put the gender again in the rows. Then it will appear like that. If you want the gender, let's put the gender in the columns and see how it will appear. So it appears like that. It's also okay, but I prefer the first one. So let me just drag it to the rows. So what is here is that this is a count. So it says non-smokers in total, they are 35. Then females who are non-smokers are 22. Then males who are non-smokers are 13. Then when it comes to the smoking category, you have the total 11. Then female who are smokers 1, and males who are smokers 10. This represents the grand total. Remember, you can remove this if you don't want it. To insert a chart representing this, simply go on insert pivot chart. Okay, use the pivot chart, please. Go on the pie chart and simply click OK. All right, then remember to remove the feud buttons by hiding all buttons on the chart. They are gone. Then we can also add the labels, the data labels, okay, which says non-smokers female painted in this, non-smoker male, smoker female, and smoker male. We can see from this key, and the numbers are here. So that is all about pivot chart, an introduction to pivot charts and pivot tables. So thank you so much for your time. See you in the next video.